There we go. All right. Good evening, everybody. Matt Geary for Geek Pride here on this Monday evening. So apologies we weren't here yesterday. But you had a bit of heat stroke or something, Mark?
I was just not particularly well, I must admit.
Yeah.
The heat does affect me. Must be because I'm so big I soak it all up.
Yeah, so basically it was just going to be me and Pete, and we were just like, let's see if we can get more people on today. So we got more people on. So yes, with me tonight we have Josh Varney.
Hey ho.
Mark Canty.
Hello.
And Peter Ray Allison.
Good evening, how are you doing?
Yeah. So gentlemen, what has been up? What's up in the last week?
Okay, the latest Night City Wire, all about Cyberpunk 2077, was released today, and that looks really. Right?
I said, oops, missed that one, but I've been out and about, so.
It's just been out, just been released today, and it looks incredible. It is basically giving some more information on the November release for Cyberpunk 2077, the video game adaptation of Cyberpunk 2020 role-playing game. And the more I see about it, the more it looks even better. They see a bit more about the life paths that are being planned out. You can play someone from a corporal background, a nomad background, or a street punk background, giving some ideas of the gameplay and the variety approaches you can take. So you can go full on murder, death, kill. You can go the sneak approach. You can go the tech approach, and they're kind of taking a leaf from Deus Ex.
Okay.
We've got multiple avenues of attack.
Yeah, quite like that.
Will you actually be able to complete it without killing people, though?
I don't know about that. Obviously,
little problem.
That was that problem with the later sequels, but the second one. But in the first one, you could literally go through the entire Deus Ex without killing anyone. But yeah, it looks incredible, and I mean, I'm a massive fan of Cyberpunk, and yeah, they are just absolutely nailing it. And it helps that they've got Mike Pondsmith involved, the creator of Cyberpunk 2020.
Okay.
And Keanu Reeves.
So yeah,
good old Keanu Reeves.
I mean, what's her name? Who said she broke the internet back in 2014? Kim Kardashian, when she broke the internet back in 2014. Keanu Reeves shattered it when it was revealed that he was playing a character in Cyberpunk 2077.
It was breathtaking.
Absolutely.
That walkout was just immense, just to see the crowd going nuts. And then it's like Keanu Reeves is on the TV. Holy shit, Keanu Reeves is on the stage.
What is it he said? Somebody said something to him, and then
basically they said it said it was breathless. Experience, and then someone yelled out, it was breathtaking.
Yeah, you're breathtaking.
And then someone else yelled out, "You're breathtaking," and then Kenny go, "No, you're breathtaking. You're all breathtaking." It got kind of lovely, but yeah, it was just a really nice bit of kind of off the cuff banter that basically exploded. And he's playing a character that is established within Cyberpunk 2020 lore. He's the Johnny Silverhand, this kind of rocker boy, and basically you see him in it and he's thinking, you fit completely within that cyberpunk setting. So he's perfectly cast for it, and he's enjoyed it so much that he actually doubled his amount of screen time.
Okay, cool. I'll be interested to see how it goes. I'm very wary about really in-depth RPGs and stuff. This current paper and pen Roll20 we're doing is taking up most of my life. I can't be dealing with a PC/Xbox One sort of getting in there as well. So I'll have to.
The people behind it are CD Projekt Red, and The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt was just a phenomenal video game. So, and they pretty much all of their work has always been top notch. And they've said from the start, literally from the very first teaser, it will be released when it is ready. Not set deadline date, when it is ready. And they've actually put back the release date. It was originally going to be released
3 times now, isn't it?
Yeah, and each time they put it back, said, nope, we're not happy with it. We're putting it back.
It's not going to be another Star Citizen, is it?
No, no, no. They keep releasing updates, and they're being completely transparent about what they're doing, why they're doing it, and how they're doing it. I mean, for example, they revealed that they had completely dispensed with role running. Thought they were going to have it in the game. It was been in the game essentially for about 5 years, and they said, nope, it's not working how we want it. We're going to remove this gameplay aspect from the game, and to make it as good as we can. And they're being completely open. And like people went, oh, okay, what are you doing? What are you thinking about it? But then no, fine. If it doesn't work, fine. We don't want a game that is broken.
Well, I'm good with that, man. I any game that sort of comes out and doesn't need patched straight away and needs sort of lots of DLC, which seems to be a running thing at the minute.
Pretty much every game you get now is released with a day one patch.
Yeah,
because they're releasing a game to a deadline, not when it's complete, but to a deadline. So basically pushing down, and they just basically keep on working on developing the game and releasing the subsequent code as a patch, and that is not a viable business model. Because as soon as someone gets the game, it's like, okay, put it in, right, installing, yeah, patching. 6 days later, still patching.
Borderlands 3 had major problems from day one. There've been about 12 hot fixes since the game was released, as well as downloadable content. But every time it's like, the mods need to be changed, and the gun power ratio needs to be changed, or the difficulty with most bosses need to be changed. It's like hot fix. Yeah, it's like half my memory on the Xbox One is purely Borderlands 3 hot fixes because they keep updating every time.
Yeah. My Xbox. Sorry, Pete. Fire one.
No, so I have no objection to games being patched and updated. That's fine. Like as time goes, the game does need to be updated. But to release it with a day one patch, basically you're saying we released it, unfinished.
We didn't do our job properly.
I know,
exactly.
But there's so many companies to do that, and I might add sort of Games Workshop. You're obviously not a computer games company, but they are one of the biggest sort of tabletop gaming companies in the world, and they can't fucking release anything without there need to be fixes. And you'd think, the constant issue that people have is that, with a company this big, you should be able to get something back. Yeah, I appreciate we're all fallible creatures and there's going to be mistakes, but it seems to be every single time there's issues. And then there's the fact that you're having to buy extra things to make up for these, and it really annoys people. Unfortunately, they've got you in a vice. If you're addicted like myself and Mark, there's no escape. You just moan about it and you sort of deal with it.
At least they've actually started regularly releasing FAQs free now, rather than making you buy supplements for them.
Unless it's that new app they released and went, it's £3.99 a month, and it's like, it's not too bad. $3.99 a month, and it'll have everything.
And it's broken,
and it doesn't work.
Yeah,
and everything, even the fixes that they've put onto it, still not working. And there's a free one you can get called Battle Scribe, which everybody uses, and it's just things. But I guess you could, on the other end of that spectrum, is you could be, like we said, Star Citizen and literally go on forever and ever.
Well, I think the latest Star Citizen, there's been no updates on it since about March, and that is getting a lot of backers very worried. What is the future of the Star Citizen? To the point where they are actually working on a new game within the setting.
My mate's wife is now working for them because they're based in like Chealhume or something like that. Oh, Withenshaw. They're based in Withenshaw, which is obviously just up the road. And he's in Chealhume, which is closer. And she's working in HR for them. So I'm not sure if they've just employed a bunch of HR people because they're going to turn around to somebody and go, yeah, this isn't coming out anytime soon. You're all fired. I
was speaking to some of the one of the smaller satellite studios involved in Star Citizen. They're working it's a very specific part of the game, and they said it is a huge game that they are working on, They're kind of compartmentalizing out various parts of the game to different developers because it's that big. And apparently, in order to run the game as is, you need a top spec PC, a top of the range, just to run it.
When was it released? 2004. When did it kickstart? 2014, something like that, was it?
I think before.
2012, maybe?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Something along those lines.
13, I think.
So it's several years ago.
Yeah, I've got people who backed it and have bought ships and things, and it's just like I've seen people who online who've spent thousands of pounds on ships and stuff. And it's just mad.
I get
it's
the
like
newsletters, and every time the newsletter comes out, it's this new ship or a new spin on a ship, and it's only like $60, $130. It's like, what's it? The latest one is a mining car. So like you can do in Elite Dangerous already, where you have the little Jeep that you can drive around. So that's like $80 on special, but it's going to go up, and it's just like, when does it stop?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mad. I was watching I can't remember the name of the channel, but there's one on it's a Facebook thing, and it's top 10s effectively, but this one was like top 10 sort of huge in open space environments, and like Star Citizen was one of the largest, and it's like quadrillions of square miles and stuff, worth of space that you can go through. It's insane how much they're doing. But
where was Elite in that?
Elite, I can't remember. It was on the list, but
I mean, what always gets me about Elite was that was a game that ran on a 48K Spectrum.
Man, yeah.
48 kilobytes.
I remember.
And when you consider the sheer scale of that game, the size of the environment, and the memory that you used, that was a phenomenal piece of coding just to do that, to achieve that.
Yeah, he sort of explained it and how they sort of did it. Because my dad, we had it for the Atari ST, and it was just sort of like, I remember my dad playing it, and just me and my brother trying to get our heads around the whole thing. And he's just like, so you're flying to planets, picking up things, and then flying to other planets?
Frontier.
Yeah,
that would have been Frontier on the ST rather than the original Elite, which was even more scarily incredible for running on BBCs and Commodores and CPCs and so on. But I don't know, the new one's letting itself down quite badly because they've retired a lot of the stuff that people liked to keep on promising more stuff to come out for free. So a lot of the lore stuff they've abandoned to worry about technology.
I always kind of wanted to get into Eve. My dad used to play
spreadsheets and starships.
Yeah, that's what my dad used to play it. And I remember him sort of talking about it. And how his funny story that he used to tell was he'd sort of got himself in trouble with these space pirates, and they basically held him captive. And the way it was, if your guy dies in that, it takes you to get a clone. It takes sort of X amount of physical days for things to sort of kind of learn. It's quite hard, and if you lose stuff, you lose it, and that's it. And he basically got told that he had to go on to some messaging board and write a groveling sort of apology and all this other thing, or they would destroy him, and they made him do it. I thought that was hilarious that like somebody would do something like that. But
wasn't there that one that made it into the gaming mags? The thing where the guy took a job from one of the clans to infiltrate one of the others, and he actually infiltrated his way up to sort of like deputy chairmanship or something of this corporation, and he literally emptied their vaults, their bank accounts, everything, and he switched and he flipped over most of their property, like all their space stations and stuff, to the other clan, and left them all homeless and screwed just at the same time.
But the fact is that actually has real world implications, because what he was doing, the assets he was manipulating, do have real world value. People can literally have invested hundreds and got thousands out of the game because there's so much value in the game. They've actually hired an economist just to manage the internal finances within the in-game economy.
Papers, doesn't he? Because the huge side of the data set. He publishes professional papers from that, and actually has effectively professional reputation, because there's no one else really has unfettered access to that sort of size of free market economy with so few constraints.
Apparently, the largest Eve battle cost 330,000 US dollars in damage, actual physical US dollars. The bloodbath of BR 5RB.
The massive ships.
And the massive ships, and they have value because they take so long to build, and
all the
they
resources.
and they just completely wiped out massive armadas from each side. And I mean, if you Google it, watch it on YouTube, and they speed it up, and it is incredible, the sheer size of the battle.
Because it went over a couple of days. Apparently, because they started and the other side wasn't on, and then people started coming on and waking up and getting on. There was about 3,000 people at one point in time, sort of kind of just literally it was just people just kept piling on more and more and more, and it just got bigger and bigger and more damaging as time went on.
And people that were caught in their small ships went away and got bigger ships, and other people were left crying at their desks when they realised how badly things had gone wrong for them and how long they were going to have to spend trying to pick up the pieces. It's scary that people can effectively write off like months of their lives when they lose one of those Titan class ships that they have in there.
Yeah, man,
because buying the resources, buying or earning the skills and the blueprints and everything else, and then you click the wrong key, jump in a bit too early, and it all just goes.
I like the concept of that. I like the concept of you being able to, there being ramifications. It's not like you literally have to be careful. I like that idea, but conversely, I would feel, I feel sick enough having to sort of grind for things and start a game.
It requires a massive time sink. In order to get the most out of Eve, you have to put in a lot of time. And for someone like me, with 3 kids, wife, and all that, I just don't have the time. And really, and also, I mean, like you say, it's grind. And I don't want to play a game for grind. I want to play a game for story. So what impact do I have on the story that is being told?
And that comes back to what I was saying about Elite, is that they've killed off a lot of the story stuff. They were doing a lot of live running story stuff with sort of ongoing developing stories, in-game events and things like that.
Because they bring back the aliens, weren't they?
It all off. They brought the Thargoids back, and they had this whole thing they were running, building up, and they made a decision suddenly all that stuff about the the power plays and everything else. They were feeding into it. They were going to put it on the back burner because they were going to focus on some technology for the space leg stuff and the super carriers and things like that. And they made an average job at best of that, in return for pissing off about a third of their user base. Because there were so many people that had invested in that.
I've played the new Elite a couple of times, and it's fun. But you need a backstory, you need lore in order to engage the players. To have a completely vanilla environment is just bland. It doesn't capture the player's imagination. It doesn't go, well, why am I playing this? Other than shoot the other player. Well, okay, that's fun for 5 minutes. But then you want a bit more. You want something to get your teeth into.
It ends up being the clans that give it some attraction to the people that stayed. I mean, I fell in with a fairly good bunch for a friend, and that was great up to a point. But real life got in the way anyway, and I still kind of keep an eye on their Discord channels and stuff like that, and pop in and say hi occasionally. But I don't feel the pull that I did originally, because you are just going in to make money and get cooler ships. There's no real feeling of attachment to anything, even with the new super carriers and stuff like that.
The only progression is in bigger ships. There's no actual progression within a storyline. You don't feel like you're advancing anything other than getting bigger ships, which after a while gets boring.
Do you think there's a way of it seems like even like space games, MMORPGs, like World of Warcraft, it's either bigger ships or more gear or better weapons. Do you think there's a way to get away from that sort of thing? Do you think there's a way of starting something new, a new sort of mechanic to sort of encourage people, because at the minute you feel like a pigeon sort of pressing a button for food pellets and stuff, and it's just like
Metal Gear Solid Phantom Pain had an interesting idea, which was the nuclear disarmament option, in that in their multiplayer side, every player had their own base, and literally there was one goal, which was to completely remove all nukes from the multiplayer arena. Now, there was a distinct choice. With that, if that happened, they would unlock a video, and which was the nuke disarmament, and that was kind of a big goal, because nukes have a very strong, obviously, in-game effect, and for players to kind of disarm themselves and remove that advantage is actually put themselves at a disadvantage from the others. So it had to be kind of mutually agreed, and that could be done through discourse, through actual engagement with the other players. So that was an interesting idea, but unfortunately, the way most players look at it is like, look at power creep. It's all about getting the edge, and the way we do that is by bigger shit, better gear, and how do developers keep players interested? Well, better ships, better gear, your spells.
Yeah.
But I used to hate, like, the worst thing for me, especially when I was a WoWaholic, when I was like proper into World of Warcraft, and that was like my life. That's all I did, that was like, it was World of Warcraft 24/7 all the time. And I used to get annoyed. I would spend so long. I don't get me wrong, I had some good experience. I had a lot of good experiences within World of Warcraft. I met some really cool people, some of who I'm still friends with now. But it sucked the life out of you, and you get to the point where you would spend so long grinding for specific parts, gear or something, within the battlefield. You were doing something, so you're doing something over and over and over again, and it ceased to be fun. It just basically was just I want to do the same thing over and over again so I can get this piece of gear. I hated that, and it was just annoying, because you would finally get it. You would get that piece of gear that you need, or you would get that full set of PvP gear you needed, or raiding gear that you needed, and then a new update would come along, or something would happen, and they would just go, oh yeah, there's something new out, and you go on to the new update, and you'd pick up the first green item you got was better than the one you just spent fucking 4 months grinding for, and it was just like, why?
You hamster wheel, start again.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing I think was that has potentially, if someone went back and looked at it differently, is that KOTOR tried, in the Old Republic, they tried this thing of legacies and families, so that when you build your characters, your different characters on the same server are attached to each other, so they can pass resources, but also as they level up, they pass off power-ups to each other. So I thought that was an interesting thing that maybe could be better revisited.
Yeah,
is the idea of you can't necessarily make yourself better without working either with other characters from other people or your own characters. Maybe might be a way to force people to look at different ways of doing it. The problem is, whatever you do with a system like that, people are going to look at the best ways to game it, aren't they? And so there'll be instead of selling people characters, you'll be selling people the right to build a connection to a character that fits a particular slot. I don't know. I mean, I've seen something in some of the elite groups. I've seen a thing that's coming in for some people now, which is where they're deleting and restarting. So those people that have spent all that time, they've built up and they've got all the ships and they've got a carrier and stuff like that on their board. What they're doing is they're deleting their commander, like wiped, and they're starting again to see how it feels to play the game right from the very start with your little sidewinder.
Yeah.
Knowing what you've known before and considering how the experience will work, especially with the big changes they made earlier this year to the new player experience and stuff like that. People are going back and almost trying to see if they can capture that spark they had originally for it, based on not having to figure out how to do mining. the hard way.
Do you know what? Part of me is jealous of people who can do that. Like, I can never have multiple characters on anything. I just can't do it. I struggle just with one character. One, because I kind of like that character to be me, and the idea of there being somebody else who's me, this doesn't sort of fit into my head. But two, it's just sort of the fact that I don't think I've got enough time. Like, I sit there and I would, when I was in World of Warcraft, I would grind every day, but yet I was just about getting a half a decent leveled sort of warrior, but yet people were having 4 or 5 characters and they were fully leveled up and stuff, and I was like, how do you have the time to do that shit, man? And it's just like, I couldn't do it. But I understand that concept of that initial sort of wow factor when you were just starting and stuff. Like, I remember the first day playing World of Warcraft, like my first MMORPG, and I remember sort of like getting into this world, having no idea what to do, and just running around. My first experience was getting ganked by these 2 pirate guys dressed as pirates in PvP, and because I was like, oh, they've got this PvP thing, and I'll do that, and then I just got absolutely murdered, and it was hilarious. And I bumped into a guy who I became friends with and stuff, and just going to different things, and that was such a good experience, the whole thing. And I remember going to sort of my brother and my dad about it and going, you gotta try this out, it's fucking amazing, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this. I was getting super excited about it, and then it just ate my life away, and it became I'm hearing myself in the background there for some reason. But yeah, it got really, really grindy, and it got to the point where I felt slightly nauseous playing it, because I was more into the grind than anything else. And
yeah, I got lucky. My first MMO was City of Heroes. I got into that back when it was in beta. So I was always predisposed to be an alcoholic anyway, from that, through City of Heroes, the Euro beta and launch, City of Villains and everything like that. City of Heroes was a game with a great community that unfortunately had a publisher that just didn't get it. But the community was awesome, and it was because of its concept around the heroes or the villains or whatever else, and the different combinations of origins and things like that. It kind of encouraged you to explore lots of different options, because you weren't making you were making, like when you're a kid with all your friends and you're scribbling like the coolest superheroes, if you could only make your own comics sort of thing. Except they came with like flashy costumes and weird pyrotechnics, and yeah, you were grinding in huge parts of it. You'd be doing the same missions over and over again, but you do them in different ways, and you'd have to fix the problems in different ways, because you interact, the way the mobs interacted with you was different. If you went in as a squishy character or a tank or something like that, and you had to seek out people to back you up, because you every single combination had a problem, and so you needed to form those gangs or those groupings, but it encouraged you to do so by virtue of the fact you could probably solo it if you played it right all the way through, but you'd be bored shitless.
The grind there, I've moaned about this on numerous podcasts and stuff, but it's just like, there has to be something you can do about it. It's just like, I understand some, certain things, fine, you do have to grind to get them, but it's when it gets to the point that every single moment of your life in a game is just a grind, and it's just like, it's not fun. You're literally doing it because you're addicted. It's not because you're enjoying it. You're addicted because you want that thing, and a game should be fun. And it's just like, that sort of really, it physically makes me feel slightly sick thinking about it, because I used
to cheat. It's a nasty cheat. It's using game theory tricks to avoid having to think too hard about how to structure a game.
Yeah.
And it's just putting enough energy in to keep you interested, even when there's no payoff involved from them. They need to keep you subscribed. They don't want to be writing huge amounts of original content because they need bodies and they need people that have a clue. But what they can do is they can take 10-15 hours worth of enjoyable gameplay, and they can slice it up and pad it with extra bits that you have to slog through to get to it. And it's the same thing as playing a lotto machine, or one of the 2 penny machines at the arcades when you're at the seafront. It's just giving you enough of the good stuff.
Yeah, I don't know how that.
Convince yourself.
I don't know if that's sort of morally questionable or not, because it's just like there's a lot of people, myself included, I can get quite addicted to things when if I get into something, I fucking zone into it. That's sort of what I do. And it's hard because when you get to that position where you feel in your heart that you need it, and you can't sort of, it doesn't matter that, it's just a computer game or it's just sort of something like that. You feel like you need to, and you sort of put everything to the side because you need, like with a capital N, you need that sort of, that item, and
you're their dream customer.
I know exactly, but there's a lot of people like
me. They have a huge chart on their wall, and there's this bit in the middle which is their ideal customer, and you're living in there with a desk and a PC and a drink fridge, and all they've got to do is they have to occasionally poke you, and your wallet falls out of your pocket and money drops into theirs.
Yeah, I personally think there has to be some sort of responsibility in gaming towards the mental health of its gamers and stuff, and it shouldn't just be about the money.
Actually, should that be the developers, or should that be the players themselves?
Well, it's a two-way thing, isn't it? Because
yes, the developers need to be aware, but realistically, it is the players, or more accurately, the players and their respective legal guardians, if they're a certain age, to be sufficiently aware and curating their gameplay and their gaming time appropriately.
The problem is that falls onto the same problem as gambling, as modern practices with certain political campaigns of late, is that in theory we're all responsible adults and we should be making informed decisions. But the people that are trying to get around those concepts are using what's effectively, what's the quote? Weapons grade psychological warfare.
Yeah, true.
They're using stuff that comes out of military labs and some pretty unethical practices, because the publishers and the accountants that really run the gaming industry, as opposed to once upon a time when it was the developers and the producers that love gaming, they work for corporations. What's a corporation? A corporation is a psychopath. It's a legal individual whose only duty is to make more money without getting caught or hurt by somebody else and punished for it.
Yeah.
And so that's where a lot of this comes from, is there's no duty of care on them apart from to their own bank balance and shell.
There is a content moderation, and I think that it actually said loot boxes are classed as gambling and therefore fall under the purview of the Gambling Commission. But yes, you are right in that respect.
Well, the thing is, everybody kicked off. As gamers, the first time I've ever seen gamers effectively unite and try and take down a corporation by saying, with EA's Battlefront 2, where they just kind of went, "Fuck this shit. We're not paying for microtransactions. This is ridiculous." And everybody just went, "We're not going to buy this game if that's the case." And it scared them so much that they knocked them out. But
yes, Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Yeah, but it's not a case. Not everybody does that. There's not as much. Some people just sort of. I think some people think, I don't mind the grind. I don't think anybody deep down enjoys the grind. They're just doing it through addiction for something.
But people don't want to admit they're weak enough to be addicted as well. That's the other problem you have with something like this. If you frame it right, and you just push a little bit here and there until someone pushes back, a lot of people won't push back because they don't want to admit that they're being taken advantage of. They know in their heart that this urge to say just one more time is probably not going to pay off, because otherwise, the house always wins at the end of the day. But to stand up and say in front of, in publicly, that you think this is a bad thing because they've already hurt you from doing it and you're weak enough to fall for it, that's a weird thing that people find very hard to do.
Yeah.
Especially within gaming circles, which are, no offense, they tend towards having some very odd characters that are somewhat hypermasculine and lacking in self-esteem.
I guess sort of games that don't really rely on grinding or would be the battle royale games, because they're more, because you don't sort of gain any sort of upgrades or anything. You just literally use what you pick up, and you fight with whatever you pick up. The only grinding
they reward you having the time to keep grinding away at it and build up those patterns of learned behavior, don't they? Because they're system games. To really be good at them, you either have to be incredibly naturally talented, like gifted in the genetic lottery to a horrendous amount in a very specific way, or you have to just be able to spend the time to play them for hour after hour, day after day, and learn all the permutations by fighting different people to build up responses so that you're a bit quicker than the other person. So in their own way, it's a different currency to succeed, but the currency comes at the expense of a lot of other things that most people would do, like wanting to going out to work or spending time with people.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? It's when you're sort of you'd rather sort of spend time in your game than with actual real people. Like the day and I remember very, very vividly, is the day that I realized I can't play MMORPGs like that anymore, and the day I gave up World of Warcraft was the day I was sort of just sitting there in the game, bored. And I was bored in the game, but I would have rather been in the game than out, at the time talking to my girlfriend or whatever. I did stupid things. Like, I remember being on in New Year's Eve. Got to the point where my girlfriend at the time joined the game just so she could spend time with me and stuff, and it was just like, I was so zoned into that, and it was just like in my mind I wasn't going to band practice, I wasn't going out with my mates, I was literally just, that was it, that was my life. And thinking back on it feels like I feel slightly nauseous sort of kind of thinking about it and stuff. It's like, and that's why when games like Cyberpunk 2020, the 2020 Cyberpunk
2077,
yeah, when games like that come out, or when there's games come out that are super sort of like MMOs and people try to get me to play them, I just get this sort of automatic sort of.
I will say that Cyberpunk 2077 is not an MMO.
Yeah,
that's one thing to kind of point. It's not an MMO. It is basically a venture role-playing game in the style.
It has an end. It has an end.
It has a definitive end.
Yeah, I can deal with games like the one thing I quite liked about not Knights of the Old Republic, Star Wars: The Old Republic. When I played that, it was an MMO. It had grinding in it, but it had a very sort of distinct story arc to it because it was BioWare and it had a storyline to it. And I played it all the way up to my character story end. At the time it was like level 50, I think, and I felt complete, and I left and I stopped. And I think I went on and I tried to do some of the raids and stuff, but I was just like, well, I've got no more storyline to it. I don't really have anything that is
7 more storylines.
Yeah, I'm sure there is now, but at the time it's just
there's that 8 character arc, so you could have gone back and started one of the other 7 and ground away another 6 months or so.
I'm like I said, when it comes to RPGs and stuff like this, I'm playing me, and like going in and doing other things, I feel like, well, I don't need to, because I've already done what I would do. And I wouldn't do, like, I'm not the sort of guy who would go in and try all the bad stuff. I'll try this as a bad guy. I'm not, because I'm an inherently good person. I can't do bad things even in MMORPGs. I have to do the good things. And so once I've got through it, I'm just like, right, I'm done. I'll just, and that's it. And it's just sort of, it's my way of getting myself out of it.
I must admit, I picked up the Star Wars Battlefront 2, the latest one, not because of the online multiplayer aspect. I wanted to play that campaign. Yeah. Because I am officially a Star Wars nerd. And yeah, it's good. It's fun.
Oh, yeah. Well, I did that, but I subscribed to the EA Origin Access thing. So I went through a bunch of stuff that I wanted to play, and that was one of the things I wanted to do. Didn't really care about the multiplayer, but I did want to try out.
Yeah.
Play through the campaign. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, multiplayer stuff rarely interests me because I have limited time in which I can play. I don't have as much time as I used to play games. So okay, no, I just want to play a game. I want to play the storyline, and I will play it once, and when it's done, it's finished. I will not. I will rarely, if ever, go back and replay a game because there's so many good stuff out there. My one caveat is XCOM 2. When they released War of the Chosen, I'm literally playing through that again because it's such a good game.
Okay. So, you know the stuff you were talking about earlier on, Matt? I knew it reminded me of something. Have you heard of hikikomori?
Vaguely rings a bell.
That's the Japanese shut-in thing, where kids, as they grow older, they withdraw from society.
Oh yes. Yes.
And some of that reminds me a little bit about this concept of pulling inwards and retreating from stuff around you, just not necessarily quite as intensely because they just shut out absolutely everything.
Well, yeah. Well, let's see. Part of me, when it comes to sort of retreating into yourself, I understand it. As a nerd, and I'm sure you guys as well, being there, where it's like you feel, when you create, you can be in a world that is something, and you can kind of be somebody different, or you can be a better person, you can be a better version of yourself, which is generally what I do. It's just like whenever I do something, it's me, but it's a better person who I kind of see myself as, sort of, if I'm always like a warrior type, so I'm always quite honorable and things like that, and that's how I kind of see myself. But in the world, it's so I can sort of make myself feel better sometimes. And I don't have a bad life in any way, shape, or form. I do have a very good life, but I do have quite low self-esteem sometimes, and there's other things, and it's like games sort of do help with things like that. And I can see why people do it, but there has to be like a line somewhere, because it gets to the point where that just becomes your existence, and it affects your, you can't be there forever, and it will affect you as a person. You have to go out, you have to meet new people, you have to sort of face your demons effectively. And like I was just sort of kind of reminded me of this. It's like people see me, the facade of somebody you may be quite confident, who can speak, who can talk bullshit when he wants to and stuff like that, but deep down I'm not a confident person, and I know this. It's like when I talk to people, I panic, and it's just through years and years of what's the word, something learning, just basically forcing myself to do things that made me uncomfortable, that I'm able to do it. So like, starting the website, doing things online, podcasts and stuff like that. It's through sort of just me going, I don't like this. This makes me feel uncomfortable, makes me feel anxious. It sort of makes me feel sick. Let's just do it. Just do it. And then it's
that's all down to confronting your own inner demons and tackling them head on. And what you've done is admirable. You've said, like, you've identified your fundamental, your demons, your weaknesses, your low self-esteem, and said, okay, what can I do to control that, to mitigate that, to overcome that? And you've basically come up like, okay, well, let's do this. So you've not accepted it. You said, okay, you've identified it. Okay, how can I overcome this? And that is to be, credited. And yeah, well done.
That's I'm just saying that I think that's what sometimes, it's too easy just to sort of get yourself lost in a world that isn't your own and not face on your problems and stuff. And I'm not going to say that it helps. I can talk a good game, but it doesn't sort of make me any less of the person I am. It's just that I've learnt through basically, my own sort of self-imposed therapy, as it will, just to sort of get on and deal with it and stuff, and that, and it helps. It does help.
But the thing is, it's because the tendency to do that, sort of get lost in something and just hide away, is something that some modern factors encourage because they can make money out of it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But the difference is that some people are strong enough, like you, to take a look at it and say, I know who I am. I'm not going to deny who I am, but I still need to push my limits. And there's a little bit of masochism in there because you have to be willing to keep pushing those pain points and accept that that's part of the price of growth, which some people are afraid of, because any sort of fear and pain, they respond by hiding away. And I have that impulse sometimes myself. But the trick is, when we're younger, there's not necessarily enough support for people to be encouraged to learn those behaviors. We learn them almost in spite of things sometimes, because our parents, the people who care for us, want to protect us. And so their impulse is to say, if it's bad and it hurts, move away from it.
Yeah. And
we get a lot more of that these days. But in reality, that makes us more susceptible to hide from things that which will make us grow, as you're embodying, by challenging yourself and going at it, because you realise that it's something that is tempting and you enjoy it, but it's not something that benefits you.
It's learning experiences.
Yeah. Ironically, being able to grind in games, being able to do things sort of for little reward or for a lot of sort of pain just to get something small is a good lesson in life, because you're basically grinding in life. You're grinding at your job, you're grinding for girls, you're grinding for
grinding for girls.
That's really bad.
Really,
that's
Matt?
bad.
Really?
Yeah.
I suspect he's learnt the wrong lessons in some areas.
Yeah, we're talking about sort of like trying your relationship. I'll say girls. Relationships would have been a bit more sort of thing, or grinding for everything. And 9 times out of 10, you will fail, or something will go wrong, and you just have to keep on going at it and stuff. And it's the point that I am so sort of stubborn when it comes to things like that I have learned from grinding is that anything I do, I will seldom sort of give up on it. So my band has been going for 20 years. We're on our 20th year. We're going to have our 20-year anniversary. We've been going for 20 years now. We're not massive rock and roll stars. We've got an album, we've got some EPs, we've got music videos online and stuff. But I carried on despite numerous people leaving, because that's just, I've learned that, you have to grind in life. You can't just give up because things get hard. And it's the same with Geek Pride. At the start, we were all, we're all quite naive and sort of like, this is going to be massive. We're going to be huge. This has got such a good idea. And then as time went on, a lot of people realized that it was going to be a grind, and, they fell off to the side. But for me, it's something that I love, and I've just sort of carried on doing, because that's how I've learned that you have to take the pain before you can get the sort of, the half.
But also just think about what you have done with Geek Pride and where you've gone and what Geek Pride has given you access to.
Yeah, well, that's my little bit of armor at the end of the grind. That's my sort of, Great Geek Pride has I've met so many nice people, and sort of lots of new people because of the website. A lot of people from across the world, because of the website. And so, yeah, as much as it is the grind, it does have the loot. There is some good loot, and it's good friendships, and it's good sort of, being able to go to nice places and and get reviews of things and stuff. So you do get something for your grind.
Absolutely. I mean, like, I think I started in 2014, about 6 years ago.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Do you remember how you started? Actually, I'd be interested. Josh, you still there, by the way?
I'm still here.
Can you all remember your first sort of day, or how it began?
You were advertising. I wrote in with one of my reviews. You said, "Sure, we'll take you on."
In a Southern Irish accent.
Fuck it, I can't do a fucking proper Irish accent. I've not had my daily dose of Guinness. Not to idly take the piss, but no, man. I think I did a review for you. It was okay, and then you found out that I could get you free shit. Next thing you know, I was upgraded, and I was taken under the wing of the mighty Tonks, and she kind of became a mentor. I was a Padawan learner while she was my Jedi Knight, and I kind of got in it that way. And Tonks trained me up, and she taught me her ways. And next thing you know, you've got more free shit.
What about you, Mark? Do you remember? You were
I can't remember. I think that there was one of the groups I was in. The people you posted, you were looking for new people to join in, and at the time I started doing some more writing because I started doing that at work and started enjoying it again, and I kind of threw my lot in a little bit to see what would happen. I can't remember exactly how far back that was though. I'm just trying to see if I can search through a little tiny bit to go back here.
Sure, I can
see what my first posts were. Yeah.
What about you?
I'm just waiting for it to actually.
What was yours?
We met through a mutual friend, Mel Santo. This I put out. I was looking to like. I've been freelancing in my part time for a few years. Then I was looking to do a bit more geek stuff on the side because that's where my passion lies. And Mel went, I know website. We need some writers, and so she introduced us, and we got chatting, and so sounds good, yeah. And then I mentioned BBC and freelancer and writer. He went, okay, you're an editor.
Yeah, we need one of those. I remember like back in the day though, man. Especially when we were just taking everybody in, So it was just getting to the point where at the very start. Everybody was super enthusiastic, and we used to have big group, big sort of like a massive group, and everybody was chatting away and stuff. And I just remember I get home from my day job, and I go upstairs, and then I go onto the computer, and I go through the list of articles and go, right, I need to edit this stuff, and I go through it and losing the will to live because some people were better than others, and then it was just like, and it felt like a second job, and then it was just like, I need help.
And then I dropped in your inbox and you went, okay, yeah, I need you.
Yeah.
But no, it's been great because it's like it combines two things I love, writing and geekery. And yeah, through that I've got to meet loads of people. I've got to interview some fantastic people, and interviewed Patricia Tallman, and she was a lovely person. And got a very rude interview, which you'll find still on the website. Yeah, I'm not.
Never.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's let's just say 18 and over, guys. There's one particular paragraph where it's just like, okay, Pat, this is really down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. Well, man, it's just mad. But that's even Geek Pride. I think in my mind, Geek Pride is only a couple of years old, but we're what are we now, 6 years old, 7 years old, something like that. I think we're 2013 2014 I think when we started, so yeah, we're pretty old coming down to it and stuff, and it's just like, wow, that's mad. And it's just like
old. We've got legacy.
Yeah,
experience.
It does, and I remember a lot of people. I remember all the major hoo-has that came in with it and stuff, and trying to hold things together and stuff. It's just like, obviously so many people with conflicting views, and because it's voluntary, it's very hard to keep people sort of zoned in when real life kicks in, and sometimes you just got to let them go, and it's just mad. But it's just like, we had some really good times. I've been meaning, and I think I will, whenever we get out of this sort of lockdown thing, I'm going to organize like a Geek Pride barbecue or something, and sort of
Geek Pride Fest.
Yeah, well, just sort of everybody can, old and new, everybody can sort of get together, and we can have some fun, because it was so good. Like when we did that photo shoot for the calendar, the cancer research calendar that we did, the charity one. It was so good because we had so many people. And it was just, there's an amazing photograph of us all sort of in a bar in Manchester, and it was good, man. And I'm annoyed because Sean Wallace, who hopefully will be coming back to the podcast at some point soon, as he's messaged me recently, or his wife's messaged me recently about it, but he was saying speech. So I thought, oh yes, this is my time. This is my time to sort of to address the troops. So I stood on this table in the middle of the Salisbury, Manchester, with geeks, you have come far. And then I realized I had nothing else I could really say that was good, so I started stuttering and going, I was like, you should really have prepared a speech. So this next one, I'm going to prepare an epic speech. I'm going to get music and flags and the whole thing.
I am Matt Wallace. I have got lightning bolts to shoot out of my eyes and fireballs out of my arse.
Go home and you may live.
It just slipped out.
Yeah. Yeah. But there, I think the lesson, I think, in that conversation was that the grind, in its sort of own weird way, does teach you how to grind in life, I guess. Just
but grind without reward.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's face it though, most grinding, you can't cut grass and all of a sudden fucking rupees just fly out of the grass because, oh fuck, I just cut grass. When most life grind, it's not that easy. I mean, this life grind at the moment is a bit like fucking World of Warcraft. Every time you turn a corner, there's some fucker trying to kill you, or there's some entity running after you. Life, game, all that shit. And at the moment, I'm just waiting for a reset button to be done with all this crap.
Oh, no, I mean, to be at the moment, lockdown feels a lot like SimCity. And basically, we all people, Sims, living in SimCity, and every month the player is pressing disaster. And yeah, pretty much it's the best argument I found for we are living in a simulation.
Honestly, I'm still waiting for everybody's like, oh, what's to happen next? And I think I put up on the page of the day, I'll just come out and say it, Beetlejuice, just to see what the fuck could possibly go wrong. And all of a sudden, my son next to me cracked open a bottle of Dr. Pepper, and I looked at him going, you twat.
Yeah. Oh, man, yeah. Well, back down the memory lane. Yeah, that's it. You got your memories and stuff. Your legacy, as it were.
Talking about World of Warcraft, you guys going on about Eve, because that was nearly fucking an hour ago.
Yeah.
I remember with World of Warcraft, there was a huge hubbub, I think we should call it, or it went a little bit caca. A player died while actually playing the game, there was a huge funeral inside the game for this character, and they had like clans from all over the Alliance, and somewhere this Horde clan decided to go, do you know what, do you know what would be really funny, where all this Alliance are getting together and they're having this funeral to gank them.
Saw the video.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
And this is going back a good couple of years now, before my kids were even, thought of. And I remember my flatmates running upstairs, because we were both online on Burning Crusade at the time. And he was screaming out, have you seen what's going on? Have you seen what's happening? I was like, what? Turn on to live. Next thing you know, all you can see are these fucking Horde just tromping down this land, going straight into the funeral and just destroying everybody. I said, what the fuck just happened? It was a funeral and the Horde just laid waste to them. I'm thinking, in a way, disrespectful. Secondly, that was awesome, because who the fuck does that? Unless we've been grinding for 76 hours, we've had no sleep, we're kind of dehydrated, and we're failing in college. Why not? Let's go destroy a funeral. So there was that, and then obviously the now legendary Mr. Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't walk into a concert. I think I was at an AC/DC concert, and we just walked in, and someone just started screaming, Leroy Jenkins, and just ran into the pit. It's like, Jesus Christ, what? These things from, pop culture joining in, and everybody says, oh, life's the grind. People who grinded this well have really set themselves up for the rest of their lives, because, things like Leroy Jenkins, everybody's going to know what that is. I mean, you guys are saying about that instance with Eve. Everybody's going to be talking about that if you're an MMORPG player. Sometimes, what is it? The The juice is worth the squeeze, I think is the saying. Fucking grinding. God.
Yeah, man. Leroy
Yeah, I must admit
Jenkins.
that Leroy Jenkins meme has just exploded. I mean, there was a poster for Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, and I think one of it was like the Poe Dameron's ship against like an entire armada of First Order, and some below that put Leroy Jenkins.
Oh, God. Go away.
It's so funny, man. Like what is it? Viva La Dirt League on Facebook, who are quite amusing. They do a skit about it, and like they're basically reenacting the whole thing where they're in front of this cave and they're talking. They're basically doing the whole sort of spiel, and there's a guy who's looking around like he's going to do it. He's going to say the words, and he goes, "Let's do this," and then the guy comes up, "Shh, shh. It's been so long. Nobody cares anymore." And it's just like, just leave. Get out. Leave. And he sort of like goes off all sad. And then he's about to say, okay, so let's carry this. And then he suddenly runs back on and goes, Leroy Jenkins.
I would like to meet the original Leroy Jenkins.
Apparently, he apparently, right, the one that you've seen on YouTube and stuff was staged. It was a staging of something that they did do, but that one was actually staged. But yeah, it's just he had like that cult status. They actually made him a character. They made him a character, I think, in the game and stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. The Dead.
A reference, Matt. February 2016.
Wow, 2016. Wow.
Jeez.
So you're quite a youngin in the grand scheme of things.
Have you seen me?
4 years. 4 years old. Geek Pride years old. Yeah.
Yeah, much longer than dog years.
Oh man, that's sort of my this is slightly like a sad sort of segue, but you're talking about dog years. My dog's father, the one who obviously was bred from, died recently.
Oh yeah,
So bad, man. I felt gutted for because the dog was only his name's Charlie. He was only 4 years old, just over 4 years old, and
that's not old.
yeah, he had a pulmonary effusion. So basically, water in his heart, and they basically had to take him to the hospital and drain it, and then apparently it came back, and that was it. And I was just like, I was absolutely mortified for him, because I started thinking about it and I got really upset, because if that happened to my dog, I would just be inconsolable, absolutely inconsolable, man. It's just like, I really feel for him at this moment.
Well, that's why salt to the wound. It's just popped up on my feed. Martin Birch, heavy metal producer behind Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath.
Oh, yeah.
He died 71.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did you say about Charlie? And it was at the weekend. It was the anniversary of us losing, me and my partner losing our cat that we had before the current two hooligans.
Yeah.
The one that came home for only 2 weeks because he was a bit young, because he'd been abandoned in the snow and hadn't been breathing when he was brought in. And when 2 weeks came around, guess who got to tell everybody he was staying? Because someone got to. But I mean, we think he had like cancer or something in his kidneys.
Yeah.
And so we had to make that awful decision where they say, but the worst thing was that Sarah understands everything because she's a vet nurse. And so we all kind of went in, me and her, and her parents came in as well, because he'd lived with them for a while before we first got him. And you don't, no matter how big the bundle of fur and stuff, and no matter how much everyone says it's just an animal, they are part of your family, aren't they?
Yeah. I hate
Charlie
that.
can live with you, but he's part of your family.
Yeah.
Because he's Boz's father, and Boz is part of your family.
Yeah, and that's it. I just sort of, it surprised me how upset I got about it and stuff. And it's just like, I've seen it where, I've looked and I felt bad. But I remember sort of one of my exes many, many moons ago getting super upset about her cat dying, and I was like, why are you getting so upset and stuff? And it's not like I've always had cats and stuff, but because I've been away from home so long, whenever they've died, they've never felt like I had no massive attachment, and it was just like my first major sort of hit was when my cat Eva got run over and killed, and I got phoned at work. And I was just horrible because I knew exactly where she'd been hit and everything, and I had to walk past it every day, and it was horrible. And it's just like, they are like losing family, and it really, really, really winds me up. Somebody say it's just a cat or it's just a dog. If anybody says that to me, I get really fucked off. It's just like, it's not just a cat, it's not just a dog. It is a part of your family. It really matters. They do matter to you and stuff.
Yeah, my wife and I used to look after a pair of horses, two Arabs called Iffy and Wiggy. And okay, they weren't in the house, obviously, funnily enough, but we kept an eBay find. And yeah, they were a part of us. They had their own personalities. They had their own traits. They had a friendship with us. And you always do what they're going to do based on their expression. So yeah, to say, they're just an animal. No, they have a personality. They have a, intelligence, and they have a relationship with you.
Yeah, they do, and it's mad. It's just sort of, just they really, it's just I hate even thinking about it and stuff. I sort of like thinking about losing animals and stuff, like, Boz is only 2 years old and stuff like that, and hopefully, fingers crossed, he's got a good 10 years left in him and stuff. It's just like, but you never know, and it's just one of those things.
The MacGyver of dogs, fuck yeah, of course he will. Let's face it, he's got so many different fucking walls to climb over and ways for you to go, Dad, I'm stuck on this wall, come get me.
I know, but it's just like, you just panic and stuff, and I can understand why, I could never understand why sort of my mum or my dad would get so annoyed or so sort of upset about small things that we did as kids and stuff. And I'm not saying that a dog is a child, but for me, effectively, he is my child until I have a child of my own. But it's just like, you do worry about random stuff, so as soon as it's like, you just sort of like, your life basically revolves around them and how it's like, I'm buying, when it comes to buying a house, there's loads of nice houses, but that house doesn't have a garden that Boz can go in, therefore I can't have it. That's an amazing house, that's perfect for me, but it doesn't have a garden, so I can't have it because I've got to have a garden for him, and that's it. And it's just that's my priorities.
But that's how you tell that someone's a good person, because they worry about things like that. I mean, when we were growing up, we had a dog we grew up with called Max, and I was really lucky. My brother's best friend's parents were the breeders. He was a German Shepherd, and so I got to pick him out. He was the runt of the litter, this little black ball of fluff that I could pick up in two hands when I was about 8. And when he grew up, he was taller than my brother, and my brother's 2 inches taller than me. So when he could stand up, put his paws on his shoulder, and look my brother in the eye, as if to say, "Ha, yeah, whatever." But when we had to have him put down, because being a German Shepherd, he got arthritis in his back legs, and he couldn't really walk around properly and all that. My old man, who wasn't the most sentimental of people, refused to let anyone but himself and the vet be in the room, and he insisted he had to hold him to say goodbye to him. And it's the first time I'd seen my dad cry. I was like 13 or 14. Because they're part of the family.
It's a similar story. It's just my dad was the same. Like, you didn't see him sort of cry very often and stuff. And it's like, and I remember him getting upset about our cat dying and stuff, and I was just like, and I couldn't understand, and it was just sort of like, it was just weird. It's like, well, Dad doesn't get upset. What's going on? And it's just like, why? And it's just, it was strange. But yeah, they are. If you really want to get yourself hit in the feels, watch the Joe Rogan podcast with Kevin Smith.
Don't.
When they're talking about their dogs. Oh man, I was in work and I was sitting there because we were allowed to listen to podcasts and stuff, and I was sort of doing some spreadsheets and stuff, and they were talking about their dogs and obviously their respective animals dying, and both of them were crying their eyes out on this podcast, and I was crying my eyes out at the desk, and like my boss is sort of kind of looking at me like, "Are you okay?" And I'm just like, "Oh, it's just a really emotional podcast." But yeah, if you want to get the feels, watch that one. Like, literally, it's mad because both of them, Joe Rogan, who's a hard motherfucker, he's crying. Kevin Smith's pretty, and he's crying. They're both going, and it's just like, it's mad. It's just, and because of their dogs, respective dogs, you know.
It's a 4-hour-long podcast, just to let you guys know. So you're in it for the day.
Yeah, I was like, oh, we should do a 4-hour podcast, but I was just like, well, I don't know. We need more people to think.
I cleaned the house during that fucking podcast. I started in the kitchen and ended up upstairs in the bedrooms, and I was like, shit, I'm still not done yet, and they were still going.
I guess I zone out really easily when it comes to things like that. Do you ever find that, and maybe it's just me, but like I'll have an audiobook on, or I'll have a podcast on, and I'm pretty sure I'm listening to it, and then suddenly you're like time warped like an hour ahead, and you're just like, shit, what? I don't remember half of what they said.
It depends on the content. If it's an audiobook, I will zone out. But if it's a podcast, I will be actively listening to it, because it engages different parts of your brain.
Yeah.
An audio book is much more of a passive experience, because it's a narration telling a tale, whilst a podcast is a conversation. And as with conversations, you have to pay attention to maintain focus. So yeah.
I've done it where like in the audiobooks, and I did it with like the Red Rising. I think the last sort of set, like, sorry, I've been listening to a lot of the Horus Heresy stuff. The Siege of Terrors one. I'm on what's it called? What's the newest one called?
No idea. I opted out because I didn't think I could afford the mortgage to keep up.
Well, it begins with an S. It's gonna fucking annoy me now.
That's like half of them.
Yeah, the Saturnine. It's called the Saturnine, yeah. But yeah, so they've got that. But before that, the ones I've listened most to was the Red Rising trilogy. Well, the first trilogy, and then there's 2 other books, which is going to be the second trilogy when he finishes it. It's so good, by the way. Anybody should read it. The Red Rising trilogy, so good. I was really. I'm gonna have to. It's gone from my head. I just have the Red Rising. Pierce Brown. Yeah, Pierce Brown. It's basically like the books. When I started listening to it, now my boss came up to me and he's like, you should watch this, or you should listen to this and stuff. He says, I just got the Red Rising trilogy, and it's so good. You should watch it. I was like, nah, I'm not sure if I want to. I've got all my Horus Heresy books and stuff. He said, seriously, you should listen to it. It's really good. You can have the audiobooks from my thing. I was like, all right. And initially, the first one, now if you do the audiobook, it might be different experience if you're reading it, but the audiobook, the first one, it's basically about a guy who's on Mars, and it's about castes. So you've basically got these mining types called rusters and stuff on Mars who are effectively slaves. They're slaves, and then, but the thing is, he's Irish, but he puts on this really strong Irish, Southern Irish accent, and it's really weird because you don't generally hear that in sort of audiobooks, and it was slightly off-putting for me because you sort of expect sort of it to be slightly posh English or something like that, and
you're expecting to receive pronunciation, don't you?
Yeah.
Correct.
And it was weird, but then he sort of, his accent changes because it's showing him as this sort of working class, sort of like, they're called Reds, the caste system is in colors, and he becomes basically an infiltrator of a group called the Golds, who are basically the ruling caste of this of the world effectively, and his accent changes because he has to learn how to speak properly and stuff, and then it sort of starts clicking in, and it's so good because initially the first book, and you get the guy learns as he goes along, so you've basically got 5 books at the minute, and I've listened to all 5 of them, and at the start it's kind of like Hunger Games meets Battle Royale sort of thing, so you're like, but the characters are so good, and you sort of feel so good, and it's really bleak. Some of it's like super bleak, but it gets better and better and better and better, and each one gets better, and there's more depth to it. And even in the second trilogy, which he's doing, is like the battles get super intense and like super, like, there's so much depth into them. He's describing all the different mechs and the different war suits and things they use and stuff, and it's so good. I will highly, highly recommend the Red Rising trilogy, and then you can move on to the next ones. But so good, really, really good. Really enjoyed. I was so surprised about it because I was like, I don't think I was going to enjoy it, but like I got completely zoned into it, and it's just so good. And it's just the fact that shit happens. It's kind of like Game of Thrones as well, because things that you don't want to happen, and you know, people die, and you're just like, no, what the fuck? And it's so good. It's a really, really, really good series. I think he's basically taken the best bits of like Warhammer and from Game of Thrones and from all those sort of main like Hunger Games and things like that. He's taken them all and he's put all the best bits into this trilogy, and it works so well. You can see the influence he's taken from it. But it's really good. Red Rising, Pierce Brown, give it a whirl. It's really good.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll check that one out.
Yeah. And it's just good because there's so much. It's just hard to explain, but there's just so much going on. The first 3 books are basically his rise, and then the next ones are like it starts doing it weird. And the second set of books, it starts going weird because it's all a guy's called Darrow. The guy's called Darrow. The main character's called Darrow. In the second set of books, he isn't the main protagonist. It goes through them like in Game of Thrones, where it's each chapter is a different person, and it goes through them sort of fitting in with them. And it's hard. It's weird because it's a big change from the first thing, but again, it's really good. You can see as a writer he's evolving, and you're going along in the ride with them and stuff, and it's just really enjoyed that. All right. Okay. What next? We've got.
Well, if you're talking about book series you recommend, then I will. No, hands down. If you're looking for the next book series to read, I suggest Robin Hobb, the Farseer trilogy.
What's it called? Robin Hobb.
Robin Hobb. Robin Hobb is the author, and the book series is called the Farseer trilogy. Starts off with Assassin's Apprentice, then Royal Assassin, and then Assassin's Quest. And
the hell's that?
Sorry, that was my computer. That was my laptop telling me. Oh, by the way, you need to update your security.
Oh,
I told you.
But yeah, it's like a fantastic series, and following Fitz, this bastard prince. And basically he's not officially recognised, but he has royal blood, and therefore the bloodlines have what's called the skill, which is called telepathy, and he could easily be perceived as a threat to the throne. So what the king does is like, okay, you'll be my assassin now, and he becomes taught how to be an assassin for the king's arm, king's hand.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just a fantastic series, and like it expands out this massive world, and then you've got like this about another 3 or 4 trilogies set within the same setting, and it expands, grows, and makes it entirely big, and like introduces dragons to it, introduces like zombies to it, but it's always in a grounded approach. And it does it very realistically. It's not all about like high magic. Magic comes with a cost. To use the skill, yeah, you can do fantastic things, but it will drain you completely, and it's almost like an addiction. And yeah, it's just a really incredibly well written story, and the main character will completely get shafted repeatedly, psychically, emotionally, and physically, because of the task that he has to do as a royal assassin.
So he's Mr. Garibaldi.
Have you heard of an author called Joe Abercrombie? He does a series.
Joe Abercrombie, yeah, I know.
For that company?
He's got, I think, the Blade itself. It's another one my boss has recommended. So he's basically there's a trilogy of books called The Blade itself.
He is the premier grimdark author. Yeah, and I
haven't read those ones. I've read The Black Company and one of the other books.
He is a fantastic author, really at the top of his game. If you get the chance to read his books, take it. Just grab it.
Cool. Well, I've downloaded 3 of them because I had some credits left on my.
And looking for another book series, I recommend The Laundry Files by Charlie Stross. Has anyone heard of them?
No.
Heard of Charlie Stross. I've not read any of his stuff.
Oh, he's basically a massive computer geek. And the Laundry Files is what if the Cthulhu horrors were real? What if Lovecraftian horrors were real, and what would the British government do to stop it?
Nothing.
And it is basically British bureaucracy against the greatest threat of Lovecraftian horror, and it proves without a doubt that the British love of red tape will bind anything. It is fantastic. It blends computer geekery with occultism.
Is it serious, or is it like it's sort of slap?
No, it is played completely serious, but there is humorous elements in it.
Okay.
Like just like the absurdity of it, but it is played completely.
Is it kind of
straight.
like Brazil then? Is it kind of like Brazil?
No, I think it's hard to describe. It's one part British standards, one part occult horror.
Okay, interesting. Who was the author again?
Charles Stross. Yeah, he's a really good author. If you ever get the chance to see him speak, go for it. One thing I'll never forget is his observation that if anyone ever uses the phrase cybersecurity, they haven't got a clue what they're talking about. Cybersecurity isn't the thing. It's network breaches. It's data breaches. It's perimeter defenses. It is not cybersecurity.
I've just looked at the length, so I've just downloaded these the Joe Abercrombie books. All three of them are 22 hours and 15 minutes long. One of them's one of them is 27 hours and 2 minutes long.
Sounds about right.
The good books. Yeah. I mean, you do not want a book that lasts you about 3 hours. You want a book to really immerse yourself in, and Joe Abercrombie will really deliver on that in that regard.
Wow. Oh yeah, that's
good.
good.
What you're doing for the next couple of months.
Well, yeah, the thing is, the problem I get, man, is like when I get into sort of my audiobooks, and it's a shame because I would listen to them on the train, on the walk down to the train, listen to them on the train, listen to them on the work.
Hello,
Matt.
Oh,
that's only Matt.
I'm kicked off again.
They've come for him finally.
Am I there?
Yeah, you're here, Matt.
Yeah, it's done the thing that it usually does for some reason. It's dropped it and then sort of kicked off. But yeah, but I can't even remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, sorry. I would listen to the audiobook on the way to sort of work, and then I'd listen to it on the train, and then I'd listen to it sort of in work, and it got to the point where I was just completely zoned into this new world, and it was literally days worth of audio, because it would be like sort of 5 or 6 a day, and it would be over sort of a week or something, and when it finishes, you feel really strange, like something's gone. You've been sort of pulled. Yeah, you've been pulled out of this world, and you kind of feel slightly lost. It's bizarre, really strange, but
there's probably a German word for it. There's German words for everything else. That feeling you get when you don't want to get out of the fictional world.
This is completely random. This is completely random, and I don't even know what it was. But apparently, that place where things disappear to, like your sock, or there's a pick that you've got in your pocket or something like that. Apparently there's a name for that. Things just suddenly go missing, and you have no explanation why they go missing. Usually
that is Rick, my youngest.
The vanishing point.
Yeah.
Or the void.
The void. I really hope this podcast hasn't broken up into 2 sections just at the very end. That's so annoying. I have no idea why my internet connection does it. It's fucking pissing me off, man. It's just so annoying. It's just like completely random.
Shit.
The thing is, BT have come out and they've been out there a few times fixing it because they know what happens, and it still does what it does.
Are you actually on a BT connection, or is it just open? Is it just that OpenReach have to come out because it's an OpenReach connection?
OpenReach connection. I had a BT thing, but they were pissing around, so I'm now on sort of Now TV until sort of I move house. I'm going to get the fastest internet I can find when I get to my new house. I don't care, but it's just going to be hundreds of megabytes a second. None of this. None of the 72. 72? What's that? 300. I want 300s.
You have to be in the right place, though. That's the problem I found where we are. I'm in a new estate, and they've built several other new estates since, but none of them have Virgin. My town has 2 patches, 2 areas that have Virgin in, and they're on different sides of town, and I'm just up the road from one of them, but Virgin didn't want to put it into an estate where a third of the houses are more than £1 million. Go figure.
What?
Internet
I live in
connection.
Hampshire. I'm an hour's train ride from London. The front part of our estate is like 4 or 5 bedroom houses that are put in at like 7 figures, because people that live there spend maybe 2 or 3 hours a day there, and during the week, and maybe they're there at the weekends, and their families live there.
Internet's a massive thing for me, man. I just cannot. I would not go anywhere unless I can get a good internet connection. Like, I remember the struggles back in the day of sort of 2 megabytes. You know, 56k. I remember 14k modems. That's how old I am.
I remember using Audio Coupler for my first ever connection to a BBS, dude.
Oh, nice.
Man, it was NTL for me, and it was that wonderful dial-up fucking sound of
Sacrificing the robot and letting the screams of its spirit power your connection.
It was always good. I always have a chuckle with my mate when we do this sort of impression of you're playing Red Alert or you're playing Command and Conquer, and then suddenly you hear this hello, and you're just like, no, mom, put the phone down, mom, no, what, hello, mom, put the phone down.
The one that gets me is my son complains that there's not enough disk space on the Xbox because he wants to download a certain game. Oh, it's 64 gig, Dad. You've only got about 30 left on the hard drive. I was like, do you know what? Once upon a time, you used to have 1.4 megabytes on a fucking floppy disk. Don't come up to me and tell me that you're caring about a gig's worth. Like, fuck off.
I remember my first PC, like my first one that I personally owned, and it had 2 gigabytes of space, and I was like, holy shit, 2 gigabytes. That's
I had a 20 megabyte hard disk on the first PC I ever owned, with a 720k double-sided floppy disk and a 4-color graphics adapter.
Wow.
One of my old laptops is an Acer C PC, and it has 4 gigabytes hard drive.
Shit, how did it boot up?
I love it. I mean, I've still got it. I've chucked Ubuntu on it, Unix derivative, and basically I just use it as a sort of jukebox. Connect it up to my network drive, put some Spotify on it. There you go. And it's like, it's worth nothing now. It's 10 years old. It's worth nothing, but I don't mind if it gets bashed, splashed, paint on it. Yeah, it does the job.
Kids don't know they're born these days.
Are you old enough to remember QEMM 386?
Jesus Christ, Mark. Yeah. We might as well go back to the times of fucking Acorn computers and that wonderful green screen.
I remember. I had friends who had a
Granny's Garden.
A BBC with those literally sort of like floppy disks, which were paper.
Oh yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
I've given my kids an old laptop to play with. The challenge of, if you can get this onto the internet, go ahead. It is an old Windows 98 PC. Laptop.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Windows Millennium Edition. Then I was going to report you for cruel and unusual punishment.
No, Windows 98, and yeah, I mean they can get it up and running. To their credit, which is like, it involves actually going into BIOS, switching the boot up sequence to hard drive rather than disk, then restarting it again. And yeah, they will play with it, but they can't get the internet.
Every time somebody mentions Windows 98 to me, and I've just got that scene from South Park, Bigger, Longer, Uncut, where they build, they kind of bring Bill Gates and, you fucking said Windows 98 would be faster. Bang.
I remember Windows 95 coming in. Like, I remember everything had to be.
I bought it on floppy disk. Yeah. I couldn't afford a CD-ROM.
I remember sort of, everything was like you went into DOS and you got / blah blah blah, and that as a child, as a 6-year-old child, I knew how to do sort of stuff like that, because that was just sort of you knew how to start game. You stuck the CD in, you went in, you typed the button, and it played. But then I remember Windows 95 coming out, and like this big thing. It's just like, what the hell? What the hell's Windows? What is this madness? And it's just like I don't have to type anything in. I just have buttons to press. What?
Yep.
Man, I used to think the magic of a PC lied, and the fact is that you used to have a floppy drive and a disk drive, and then if you were really, really special, you'd be able to save your pocket money and your paper round money and be able to get a CD rewriter. And it's like, ooh, now you can actually burn things to disk. It's like, oh my
but
god!
You have to afford discs.
And you have to afford the discs, yeah. Which are like what, like £90 in PC world for like 4 fucking writable. Yeah. Like, and now they're what, 26 in Poundland? Who
50.
uses discs? Well, 50, fucking hell.
Yeah. But you remember the worst thing was that those rewriters were so unreliable.
Yeah.
That you'd buy 4, and you'd maybe get 2 of them successfully work.
Yeah.
And you'd just be sat there going, "What do I do now?" They're ghosters.
You try to hook them up to play the Imperial March as you turn them on.
Man, old school computers, like, it's just lots of fun.
Talking of old school, because we didn't get around to it last week. Who watched the new Transformers miniseries on Netflix?
No, not yet.
I've seen it.
I did.
Really good.
Yes.
I enjoyed it. I still can't get over the fact is it's not Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime.
Oh, whoa! What's his voice like?
It's pretty good, but it's not Peter Cullen.
But
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. The thing is, it feels like proper Transformers. It's not Bay. It's far from it. Starscream is still an asshole. Optimus Prime tries very hard to be noble.
Yeah.
But they do take some interesting choices in how they bring the characters in, which is interesting because we all came in and we got to know the Transformers in what is going to be Series 2 for them, which won't be till next year.
Right.
So, where we are at the moment, we're coming in
War and
their
Cybertron.
version of the Civil War.
Yeah.
And so people don't have quite the same allegiances and things like that. But they do work. It does work very well, I thought.
With Siege, I will give them this. They kept certain things in, which I think, as any kind of bot fan, you're kind of happy about. The original transformation sounds, they were kept, and it was just beautiful. They called Starscream and the rest of the aerial Decepticons Seekers. I'm so happy they originally have gone back to calling them the Seekers. The origin of Jetfire, I'm so happy about that. And the Alpha Trion storyline was really good. And yeah, the animation is still quite blocky. It's like you're playing a game, but it works. It works really well, especially with the type of audience they're going for, because obviously they're going for the old school fans of G1, and they're also trying to focus on like new fans, new Transformer kids and stuff like that. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed. I tell anybody, if you're a Transformer fan, if you're a bot fan, watch it. It is worth the watch.
Definitely. I just hate that we have to wait till next year for Series 2.
I know.
And the year after for Series 3.
That's a good sign of the series.
And how many episodes are there in a series?
6.
Alright, so it's not many of them. Alright, okay. That's good in a way, isn't it? So it kind of makes you want more.
Yeah.
How long is an episode?
20 minutes.
Oh shit! All right, okay.
It's an evening.
Yeah.
It's a hardcore evening if you want to binge and go and have a late night.
The upside to anything at the moment is it's only a couple of weeks left until the boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the upside to most things, which is so happy about at the moment, because I bought the complete collection of Garth Ennis's books online for like $5 each.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought, you know what? There's that birthday money. Fuck it. Cha-ching. And I'm just going through. I kind of binge watched the first series again. So started with Omnibus 1, Omnibus 2, and I gotta admit, it's the first time I've actually read the books in the Omnibus fully, because I used to have the comic books. And I remember just going back to the book, going back to the TV series, back to the book again. Ooh, there's we've missed a few things here, but also I can see why they've done it though to transfer to TV. But the TV's just so much better. I love it. I think it's absolutely awesome. Can't wait for season 2.
The one downside with the comic books is that Garth Ennis from the outset said he wanted to out Preacher. Yes. That was his entire goal. Now, I think when you're trying to deliberately outdo yourself in terms of explicit content, then you're kind of missing the point of telling a good story. There is still a great story in The Boys, but it's just kind of often
dragging them along.
Exactly.
I just realised I haven't finished watching Preacher. I got to. I'm not sure. Has it finished now? Has the series finished?
Yeah, Preacher has finished. It was disappointing, unfortunately.
I think. What did I get up to? They basically got that fortress. He refused to be the Messiah, and they basically were in that big fortress in the desert. That's where I am.
The final episodes of the final season is towards the end a drag because they're trying to cram in so much content to bring it towards the end to actually deliver a conclusion, but in so doing the conclusion is just flat and rushed. I mean there's some wonderful moments in it, but it just feels overwhelmed by the fact the momentum of the narrative was such that you just didn't have time to savor it.
Oh, all right.
Sorry to jump from Garth Ennis to Neil Gaiman. Have any of you guys listened to the Sandman audiobook yet?
No, I haven't. But then I'm going to be hasty that I don't like Sandman.
Oh, right, I've got it. I was given it free.
Okay.
So if anybody wants me to share it, yep, fair enough. I will share away. I'll put it on my Google Drive. Going through, obviously, sorry to jump from Sandman back to The Boys, but why not? One thing I did miss from the books that I was hoping so much to go into the TV series was Terra.
Yeah,
because some of the
that was a part of Butcher's character.
Yeah,
is Terra. That is the entire part of it. I mean, iconic part of his character is his relationship with his people. Is Terra.
And one of the beautiful, funniest things I remember laughing, and my son asked me what's so funny. I was like, I really can't show you. Where it goes, you want something funny? Terra, fuck. And that is, I thought, oh God, how would they ever put that onto Amazon Prime? And I'm thinking, if they can, shove something up a guy's ass to make him blow up, they could be able to do something.
Well, apparently there was one scene they filmed for the first season of The Boys, which was pulled because they just could not show it. And let's see, it was okay. What's the name of the main hero again?
Huey. Oh, no, Homelander.
Homelander. There was a basically ish scene where Homeland was stood on top of the Empire State Building, and he goes basically swearing that you're all mine, you're all cunt, you're blah blah blah, and it turns out you realise that he is jacking himself off over the city of New York.
Yeah.
Apparently, Terror's going to be in the second series.
Yes. Because if you watch season 1, you can when Butch is in his apartment, he has got a dog kennel, next to him and everything else. Again, where is the fucking dog?
Oh, it's just kicked off again. Gone down again.
You can CGI anything. I mean, if they can make Beefy and Little Nicky do some things in that, you can get a dog. You can get Terra to do that. Let's face it, Mr. Beefy. Yeah, absolutely. Have we been kicked off again, Matt?
Yeah, we've. It's just I have no idea what's happening with it today. I think we're gonna have to leave it there because it just keeps on sort of kind of zoning out on me and stuff, and I'm gonna have to stitch like 3 of these things together now.
Send BT our invoice for our time, will you?
Hour and 3/4 anyway, so now's a good time as any to wrap up.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll leave it there before. I have no idea what's going on with it today. It just throws a hissy fit.
Monday.
Just does
Monday.
Things. luckily, I don't think any. Yeah, I'm not sure if it started a new session or not, or if it's kept it. Hopefully, it's just kept it, so that makes it easy for Matt when it comes down to editing. But yes, anyway, we'll leave it there for now due to potential technical difficulties. But yes, in general, very, very good chat, quite in depth. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
And once again, we roamed off in some weird directions.
Yeah, it was. It started off talking about Cyberpunk, then went into space games, then went into dogs dying. Then
it was fine for an hour. I didn't get to say anything, and I just kind of redid my bookshelf. I put you fuckers on mute, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to rearrange my bookshelf. So kind of alphabetize my fucking graphic novels, and again, they'll be there a while.
Sorry, Josh.
Oh,
okay. We'll leave that there then. So thanks very much, everybody, for listening. If you've downloaded the podcast, thank you very much. We got a really good sort of download rate last month. So hopefully, if everybody can do the same, that'd be great. Helps us out. So for tonight, I've been Matt Geary. With me has been Mark Canty.
have a good one.
John Joe Cosgrove's not here. That just seems to come out of my mouth that he's not here. Peter Ray Allison.
Okay, goodbye, guys. Look after yourselves.
And Joshua Varney.
Be excellent to each other.
Night, everybody. Thanks a lot. Bye.